Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Alexis Jimenez, and today we have an incredible guest joining us from Salt Lake City, Utah. Her name is Andrea, and she's a clinical pharmacist who made the bold decision to step away from the traditional pharmacy world to build a real estate empire. Andrea is not just an investor. She's a private money lender as well. She is a direct to agent wholesaler. She specializes in short term rental, mid-term rental, long-term rental, co-living spaces across Utah and North Carolina. And what makes her story fascinating to me is how she's designed a life of freedom, flying over 150 times, guys, 150 times a year between work and adventure while building a multiple income streams in real estate. She's proved that you don't have to be stuck in the 9 to 5 grind to build wealth. And today we're diving deep into her transition from healthcare to real estate and her investment strategies and how she scaled her portfolio while maintaining the lifestyle she loves. So grab your Diet Coke, that's Andrea's favorite, and let's get started. How are you, Andrea?
Hi, I'm doing so well. And I don't even have a Diet Coke right here, but that is amazing because Diet Coke is my absolute
Yes,
favorite.
you love it, right?
That's
So how,
awesome.
how how many Diet Cokes you drink in a day?
Oh, like 5 or 6.
Really? I
Yes.
thought that I thought that it was only one, but five
Oh,
or
no,
six. Oh my God.
definitely not.
That's really cool. So tell me, so you went from being a pharmacist to flying over 150 times a year as a real estate investor. So walk us through the transformation and what was the pivotal time or moment that makes you, to change your life in that sense.
Yeah. And so, fun fact, I actually still work as a pharmacist, but it is a completely
Okay, cool.
different type of career and obviously travel a ton for fun too. So I was originally working in the hospital when we moved to Utah, and I really did not like the job very much. It just wasn't as satisfying as it had been previously. I did not feel like I was helping people the way that I was beforehand. So I made a shift to work in the pharmaceutical industry and to focus on cancer and clinical trials. And so for me, that allows me to travel and it's much more flexible. It's work from home and travel, and I can kind of fit in all the other things that I want to do in my life as well. So I also do content creation. I'm hosting a group trip actually starting tomorrow in southern Utah with a bunch of women we're going to go canyoneering, we're going horseback riding, we're going hiking, and then, of course, my real estate ventures as well. So, got into Sub 2 back in 2023, which is a community that we're both a part of. And really got into it because I wanted to buy more real estate. It's been one of the things that's been, one of my goals for a really long time. I just didn't feel like, I didn't think now is the right time to do it. There was always something going on. My husband was in medical school, then he was in residency, then we weren't stable where we were living. So we just kept putting it off, and we finally bought a couple of properties and put a ton of money into them because of course we're out west, so we're not in Toledo or some of the less expensive markets. Not that there aren't expensive things there, but it was super pricey. We put multiple six figures down on properties out west, and then I was like, okay, I'm out of money to buy properties. Like, how is everybody else doing it? And I found creative finance, and it jump started a whole venture into wholesaling and buying this house that I live in right here. I bought it creatively as well. It's 5,000 square feet, gated community right next to the mountains in Utah. And I got it for $20,000 down and a 3.49% interest rate with no
Oh
mortgage.
my God, that doesn't exist out there, right? In the traditional world, is what I meant, right?
Right. And it was the craziest thing because this is in 2023 when interest rates are at that point in time. We closed in October of 23. Interest rates were 8%. And that, I mean, to get an interest rate of 3.49%, it cut our, potential mortgage payment in half. And
Mhm.
all of that would have gone to interest. It's not like that would have been going towards
It's not
anything
fun.
principal. Yeah. So it's just been a nutso world. But I started wholesaling with a team and got into wholesaling with a team and still do that. but have recently pivoted more towards private money lending because it is a better fit for my lifestyle. Like you mentioned, I fly a ton. I hit Million Miler on Delta last week, so a million miles on one single airline, and that doesn't include the other ones that I've flown. And so, the goal for me is to make it a little bit more passive. And so all the other things I've been doing have been less passive, and, it's still kind of balancing my job and everything else. I want to make sure that I'm focused on more passive income streams going forward.
Wow, wow, wow. I love it. So a couple of questions. So why real estate? You could have decided to choose another career or another path, right? So why real estate, or why? I guess, I mean, I'll tell you mine. So in my case, I was like, I'm a business owner, so I own a business besides real estate. I own a tech company, but I was seeing so many people being or making a lot of money, in real estate, making a lot of money. And I was like, I'm making some decent money in my tech company, but I think that, I see other people making more money than the one that I'm doing, and more freedom as well. But that was me. So what happened in your life that you decided, you know what, this is the path that I'm going to take from now on? And why is that? What happened?
Yeah, I think it's been a lot of reading personal development books, things like Rich Dad Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki, and just learning, like, here I was going down this path, and I decided I wanted to be a pharmacist when I was 16 in high school. And it was really a process of elimination, thinking of, okay, I wanted something that I would go to school and have a pretty stable career when I got out, that paid well, so that, if I never got married, or if I got married and got divorced, or my husband died, then I would still be able to support myself and any family, right? I thought that was really important to me. Stability was so incredibly important. So I went down that traditional path, the go to school, get good grades, get a job, that whole thing that every single person probably hears when they're a kid. And so I started reading these personal development books and really thinking about the lifestyle that I was planning to generate, and realizing, like, okay, I am on the wrong quadrant of this. Like, I'm an employee. This is not necessarily the way that I am going to build the security that I'm thinking I'm going to. And even now, I work as a pharmacist, like I said, in clinical trials in the pharmaceutical industry, but it is not nearly as stable as I thought it would be when I was younger.
Mm.
Job twice since the pandemic. And it's not anything that I've done in particular. It's just all of a sudden they find out that the medication doesn't work. And so they stop doing clinical trials and they start something else, and they let the entire team go. And I'm included in
Mm.
that. And so for me, originally I was thinking I was going to be stable by getting this solid career. And there is some stability in that. I could always pivot back to being a pharmacist in the, hospital like I used to be. But realistically, you don't have nearly as much control. And I wanted that. And that's what I found in real estate. And that's what I was looking for.
Wow, that reminds me, in 2006, before I built my tech company, I used to be a sales director in a company, and it was, for commission based, and I was making, some decent money. That was 25 years ago, and I was making, 8 grand. I was single, a month. With inflation, that could be maybe $15,000 nowadays for a single person. That's decent money. And then suddenly the government changed some regulations, and the whole economy collapsed. And then from making 8 grand per month, then suddenly I was making $500 per month. And that hit me, and I was engaged. I was about to get married in 2 months. And that hit me so hard that sometimes government or other external things that we don't control can influence our world.
Yeah.
And that makes me think that, somehow we have to find our path, and be, I guess, a recession proof, or some we can build our wealth, around that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you said it in the intro, right? It's not that real estate is the only path, but it's just trying to find multiple ways to earn the income, so that if something does happen, right? I'll give you an example. I had a flood in my condo that happened a couple of months ago, which was a disaster. I mean, it's still ongoing with what's happening. They're supposed to be replacing the floors today. But if that was my only property, I probably would never do real estate again, right? Because I'm like, this has been a disaster. It's been months without income. Like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. You know, but I have multiple properties now, right? Just like multiple streams of income. I have my job. I have, I do content creation. I have, my group trips that I'm hosting. I have real estate. There's so many different ways, right? And so they all work together really nicely. And I think, if you just do one loan and it defaults, like that's going to be terrible, right? If you just have one property and it catches fire, then you're going to be in trouble. But like, it's a nice thing about diversifying and adding in those things that really does make you that recession proof and really, really ready for anything.
Yeah, so basically don't have all the eggs in one basket.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, so you own multiple properties, and then but recently, well, in the very beginning, you said that now you want to focus on PML. So
Yes.
why is that? Because I see people, they love real estate, they buy properties, and some of them combine both, PML operator as well. But you decided to be a full-time PML. I'm right, and why?
Yeah, that's definitely the direction that I'm going in. And for the main reason of just thinking about my lifestyle and what I wanted it to look like. When I have my job right now that I enjoy, I don't really want to replace my job that I enjoy with a new job, right? Which is being an operator, being a property manager, running all these, different properties and that sort of thing. For me, that just didn't make a ton of sense, especially when inevitably you start getting the condo flooding that I just mentioned, or other, things that happen and your tenants are calling you for random things, right? And so I just realized for me, maybe it would be a better fit to spend the time, effort, and, upfront work at the beginning, vetting my private money lending deal that I'm going to be doing. And then after that, it's more of a sit back and relax, collect the check type of a investment, rather than a very hands-on, I'm going to flip the property, or I'm not even going to flip the property, I'm going to manage someone else doing the flip. That's still a lot of work, right? There's still a lot going on. You're still, like, if you're getting a CoLiving up and running, there's still a lot of background that you need to do, even if you're not the one actually doing it, right? If you're not putting up the walls yourself, you're still coordinating people going in and doing it. And so for me, just thinking about what I'm looking forward to in the future, I want to have it a little less time intensive. So for me, private money lending made the most sense. And right now, I am focused on lending in the first position. And so I originally thought, man, there's no way I'm going to be able to get into private money lending for years, right? I don't have millions and millions of dollars in my bank account that I can just sit there and private money lend and be, this baller. And so that's one of the main reasons why I didn't get started in private money lending to begin with, because I thought, okay, I want to be the most secure. So I want to be in first position, which is just the order that they record the lien on, the county office. So for example, pretty much everyone has a mortgage on their house, and that is most likely the first position lien. And so I want to be that person. I want to be the mortgage. I want to be the first position lien. You're the most safe. You're the most protected, so that if somebody messes something up, or if they die, or if they don't do the rehab like they're supposed to, they decide to ghost you, you can actually take that property because you are in the most protected position. So I wanted to be there, but I'm thinking about houses in Utah that are 500, 600,000. And I don't have that kind of money, right? So I found other people that are doing this in the Midwest and in the South, where the properties are less expensive, where you can do it for something like 50,000. And that's how I'm doing my private money lending.
Yeah, actually, right now I'm working on two projects. Which one of them I bought the house for 80 grand, and I put I would say 80 grand extra on rehab, and the other project is $55,000 acquisition and $55,000 on the rehab. Yeah, the prices here are crazy cheap.
Yeah.
And what I love the most, I'm an operator, I'm a buy and hold investor. What I love the most is the cash flow. So eventually, when I get the DSCR loan on the back end, my average mortgage is between 800 to 1100, and my average rent as an MTR, because I rent them out as an MTR, usually is between 3 to 4 grand, which is amazing.
That's awesome. And it's wonderful cash flow.
Yeah, but that's the Midwest.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I mean, out west, things aren't typically like that. You won't even cash flow usually unless you midterm rent. Like, you don't even cash flow in a long-term scenario. And then even from a midterm perspective, I mean, the most you're getting gross cash flow is somewhere like around $1,000 or something like that. And so then you got to take out, management and all kinds of other fees. Even if you're doing it yourself, you obviously should pay yourself for that management. But if something goes wrong or whatever, you're starting to get a lot tighter.
Yeah, yeah, I have heard that, and I heard that people that are buying intentionally is because they are looking for the tax appreciation and not necessarily the appreciation as well, but not necessarily the cash flow.
Right. And the problem with the depreciation is, since I do still have a W-2 job, you can't be a real estate professional unless you work more as a real estate professional than your regular job. And so I would have to document 41 hours every single week of real estate work on top of my, my day job. And that's just not doable, and it's very audit prone. So the best scenario is if you're like married, like you're a professional and you're married to someone who's a real estate professional, then you can take that depreciation, or you utilize the short-term rental tax loophole, which definitely got a lot more favorable with the most recent tax changes from the big beautiful bill. But I still haven't decided if that's going to be our strategy or not for the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And talking about short-term rentals, so you have STRs, MTRs, long-term rentals as well.
Yes,
So
I have. I've like decided to try like every strategy, which I wouldn't necessarily.
that's quite diverse. Yeah.
Yeah, but we have co-livings, we have long-term rentals, we have short-term rentals, and we have mid-term rentals. So we have literally the whole gamut, and of course our own primary home. So it's like I need to do like sober living, and then I'd literally check all of the boxes.
And you did that on purpose. You were looking to diversify your. I mean, it was a diversification strategy, or it was just I want to try this and then try that and then try that.
So originally I thought, okay, let's do the short-term rental tax loophole because that's the only way that I'm going to make, actual tax advantages from real estate, just given my W-2 job. And so I had already, like when we first got into the real estate realm, I had a duplex and we rented it long-term rental. We still have that. Then we moved into another house. And when we moved out, there was no way it was going to cash flow as a long-term rental. And we knew that going in. We furnished it in, like, just thinking it's going to be a midterm rental when we move out, and that's what it is now. So we actually have someone that runs that midterm rental. I actually tagged you in a post not that long ago for the guy that actually runs our midterm rental, because he's pretty awesome. And it's like so hands off, so nice. And so we had that midterm rental, and then we moved into this now primary home. And so going forward at that point in time, I was like, okay, I need tax help. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get a short-term rental. But part of the short-term rental piece and getting the tax loophole is you have to work more hours on the short-term rental than anybody else does. And I really didn't like doing it. I don't think maybe I'm not made for hospitality, but the people that were coming in, and I gave a picture step-by-step guide of how to check in inevitably. Well, I can't find it. All these things. And I'm just like, oh my, it's literally in the picture. Did I see the picture? I saw the pictures. I'm like, it is so clear. Like, I don't understand. And so for me, like, I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I have the short-term rental. I have converted that one to a midterm rental. And we also have another short-term rental that someone else is running. And then we just started buying co-livings as a wholesale team. So my team that does wholesaling, we've been wholesaling together for over a year. We started buying co-livings this year, but I am not managing those. I am not involved in those. I don't have any, like, I mean, we talk as a team about, like, are we going to decide on, is this the one we want? We decide yes. I run the numbers and do the underwriting for it. And then we check in with each other. How's it going? That sort of stuff. But like, I have no immediate turnaround needs for management or anything like that. And our goal is to buy around 8 more of those this year. But like I said, very low key from my involvement because I just don't really have the time to manage that myself or prioritize that. But I do think it's a really good service to help with housing affordability because it is expensive everywhere, including Utah.
Is the wholesale business literally wholesale business on purpose, or you guys built it because you guys wanted to be the deal source and then buy the deals by yourself, and those that you don't want to buy, and then you assign them?
Yeah. So it was kind of a mix of the two things. So I started wholesaling because of the exact thing that you mentioned. The first property I ever found was this house that I live in right now. And I was super excited. Then I immediately found another property that I thought, oh, this would make a great rental. But my best friend that I do private money lending with, who's also in sub 2, but hadn't joined yet, she was like, well, I need a new house. Like, can I go look at this house with you? So, and on the walkthrough, we went together, and she ended up wanting that house to live in. And so she moved into that property. So now I've done two deals that were kind of through my own like sourcing, right, that I wanted. And then I found another deal pretty quickly after that and decided that that property wasn't necessarily a good fit for me. So I wholesaled that one. And then I started just continuing to find deals, connecting with people that had already, I do mostly on market direct to agent. And so I connected with another realtor. She brought me the short-term rental that I mentioned. And then just through networking, found a couple of other deals as well. And like you just mentioned, what I found is that the very best deals never are wholesale. And so that was the main reason why we kept doing it. And so the last two deals that we wholesaled, we actually bought ourselves, rather than you know, wholesaling them to another buyer, because that is really our primary thing, is to find deals for ourselves going forward, which is why we do mostly creative, even though creative doesn't give you a ton of like dollars in your pocket as a wholesaler. It still is what I'm looking to buy as a buyer. So that's like our primary thing that we're doing, because that's what we're looking for. So kind of a mix of the two. My partners are also we out of state, like, we've done deals in Idaho and Texas and other states that we're not buying in. So those deals are like primarily wholesale, and that's like wholesale from the beginning. But it's nice just to give people some more practice, that like, we get like new people that want to call for us or something. So we'll start new states so that they can get like new practice. And then if it works out, then we have a deal that we're going to wholesale. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but the primary thing is that the stuff we're looking to buy.
Nice, nice. Are you, by any chance, are you targeting Georgia?
Georgia, not at the moment. We've turned it on for one, I don't know if you have any callers yourself, but people will say they want to call for you. They'll get really excited. They'll call for a week and then they'll stop, because it is really just a numbers game. We've found that new people really need to talk to about 200, make 200 calls before they get their first deal. And most people just hear awesome success stories of somebody getting, a deal on their first door knocking try, or getting a deal on their first phone call, and they think that that would be them. And by the time they get to the 15th phone call, they don't want to do it anymore. So we've turned on Georgia, I think 2 separate times, but it is turned off right now.
Okay, no, I'm asking because I partnered up recently with Chris Nair, and we are about to launch our fractional fund in August 27th. And it's going to be for co-living. It's going to be, we're going to be buying co-living properties in Atlanta, so which is fun.
Awesome. That's super fun. Well, if we're turned back on, I'll keep you posted, because I'd love to do
Yeah,
a deal together. That's really fun.
yeah. Keep me posted. Yeah. So going back to private money lending. So you are on both sides of the equation. So what do you look for in borrowers and deals as well, that makes you feel confident putting your money at risk? I mean, not at risk, but you know what I mean.
It's always at risk though. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, the partner that I'm doing private money lending with, it's like I mentioned, my best friend, the one that I wholesaled that very first deal to, she's a very, very low risk tolerance. And so, and not that mine is super, super high, but hers is very low. And like relative to other people, it's extremely low. And so she and I spent, I don't know, 6 months really discussing how we wanted to move forward with lending, because she realized pretty quickly she didn't want to own properties. We bought, I told you I bought a duplex. She bought a duplex at the exact same time and has since sold it. Absolutely hated the entire experience, did not want to be a landlord. So she knew right away that she wanted to get into private money lending, and she was kind of waiting on me to catch up. And so we really sat down and thought about, what do we feel most comfortable with for private money lending? And we decided on first position loans. And those are the loans that are very similar to a primary mortgage on your house. They're the number one position, the first thing that is recorded at the county office, which means you're the absolute most secure. And we loan on the as is value of the property, and not the like after repair value of the property. So if the property itself right now has, the kitchen is gutted and there's no floors, only subfloors, we're loaning on the value of that. We don't pretend like we've already put the kitchen in and we've already put the flooring in and then loan on that value. So it's on the value at that exact moment. So let's say we close today and then the flipper dies tomorrow. we at least still have a property that we're loaning less than the as is value, and we can work through that process and still not lose our entire principal. I think the main barrier, though, for people that are doing private money lending, and especially when they want to do the most secure option, is they think, okay, I only have 25, 50, 75, $100,000. There's no way I can be in the first position. But we found, like I said, people in the Midwest and the South that have lower entry options. And so I've actually done the lowest lending deal I've done has actually been on a land deal, and that was around $12,000. And then the most expensive one I've done is around $150,000. And so right now, me and my partner are primarily partnering with people who have a significant amount of experience, both on the lending side and the vetting the borrower side. And we're doing more of a co-lending model with them. So we're seeing all of their systems, understanding what that looks like, doing it with them. So big names that you're familiar with, like Abraham Gray, Rhea Campbell, people like that. We're really checking out their systems. How do they communicate? What do the text messages look like? How is the paperwork done? Is it different in, Abraham's versus Rhea's? Is it, and, there's other people as well. Like, how does this feel? So that then we can turn around and do that on our own. So we've done 5 total first position loans so far, and all of the money is coming from our self-directed IRA accounts. So we converted old employer 401ks into self-directed accounts, and then have been lending the money from there.
Nice, nice. I love that. So one of the biggest competition that I have seen well, I guess that is going to be like that for a while, but recently I have seen private money lenders like yourself that wants to be in first position. They are competing with hard money lenders in a sense that hard money lenders, they want to be in first position as well. Usually they fund 90% of the acquisition and 100% of the construction. And sometimes I have seen recently 100% of the acquisition, 100% of the construction. Of course, they are taking a bigger risk, but how do you separate or differentiate yourself or compete with them? I guess that is a word, right? So how do you navigate through that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. So the best people to loan money to are the people that don't actually need your money, right? It's not the brand new flipper that's never done this before, that has no money to their name, but found this awesome property that's 100% a deal and is probably not, right? So these are people that do a significant amount of volume to where the banks can't quite move fast enough for them. So the advantage is we move a lot faster. And so you can probably get a loan turned around in 2 days, and there's no bank that's going to compete with that. And so I think that is one of the primary things. And you're working with people who don't necessarily need your money; they're just using it because it's much more convenient than going through the bank. And then 2, it's the speed and the timing that you're able to do, and that definitely sets you significantly apart.
Definitely, absolutely. And what are your typical terms?
Yeah, so it depends on kind of who we are partnering with, but we've done anywhere from 12% annualized up to 15% flat, and the 15%
That's
flat.
very competitive.
Yeah, and the 15% flat has a 6-month balloon. So feasibly, that's almost 30% annualized if you do get your money back in that time. So it's actually pretty good returns. I mean, I think that the main thing that I've thought about is you hear all these, maybe people listening to this haven't heard these, but in the communities that we're in, we hear so many people talk about, well, I put in 5,000 and I got 5,000 back 2 days later. I put in 100,000 and 4 months later I got 200,000 back. Like, you hear these crazy returns, but what you don't necessarily hear all the time is those people who put that 5,000 in and 2 days later they get $0 back, including their principal, because it's gone forever and it stays in escrow and you can't get it out. Or the people that put in 100,000 and they only get 50,000 out total, not 100,000 plus the 50. And so for me, I really care more about protecting my principal and growing it more like a slow and steady wins the race, but not super slow. Like, I'm not trying to be like high yield savings account slow, but just not anywhere where it's putting it like drastically at these risks of losing the principal, and rather growing it really steadily and strongly every year with a 12-month like floor. a 12%
Yeah,
floor.
yeah. And something that I learned over time is that the bigger the return, the bigger the risk on any investment.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, something that people don't really factor in, but if let's say you have $100,000, and yeah, it can be anywhere, it can be in your bank account, it can be in the stock market, whatever. If you lose 20% of that money, right? Now you're down to $80,000. Okay. If you gain, now let's say now you're at 80,000, you lost 20%, dang it. Okay. We're going to keep going though, because that's what you got to keep doing. Now, let's say you do something great and you get 20%. You're not even back to 100,000 yet. You're only now at 96,000 because of just the way that the math works. So a 20% loss doesn't offset then after that a 20% gain. So you have to make sure that you're really protecting that principal because it's super, super, super important. And if you think about instead, if you made 12% and then 12%, you'd be significantly farther ahead, even though you thought you were going to get 20% both of those times. Instead, you actually lost the 20% the first time. So it's just something important to kind of keep note of, and protecting the principal is the most important thing. And so being as secure as possible for me right now makes the most sense. Maybe later I'll move to second position loans when I'm an absolute expert, but I'm not right now. I mean, I wish I could tell you in 6 months I've become a private money lending expert, but I haven't. And it's going to take probably several years realistically for me to feel super, super confident in those riskier loan situations. And I may honestly never even get there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I agree. So, so money is not unlimited. So you're funding the deals by yourself, but are you raising capital from other people that they are interested in investing with you as well?
Yeah. So me and my partner's plan is we're doing anybody we ever work with, we are doing our own money first. So money isn't unlimited for sure. So for example, if we work, with investor A, I put my own money in, I get great communication from investor A, I get my money returned as expected on time, or there's appropriate communication for why the delay is. Of course, delays happen. Like that's to be expected. Everything isn't going to go perfectly, but what does the communication look like during that process? Did my returns match up with what I expected they would? And once I have that money back, then I'm currently in the process of telling other people what I'm doing. And if they want to do it too, we will co-lend together only on people I have already vetted myself. So that's like the number one key thing is I'm only doing this myself, and then I will connect or co-lend with people, but it will only be to people I personally vetted with my own dollars. And I've got not that I've sent them my dollars, but I got them back the way that I expected to, with appropriate communication throughout the process. So that's the plan going forward. I have 3 private money lenders on my own deals. I trust myself. I'm happy to raise money from family and friends. Just vetting the operators is super, super important, right? So I have a long-term rental down in St. George. I have a private money lender on that. I have the short-term rental that I've now converted to midterm. I have a private money lender on that. And then our co-livings, we have private money lenders on both of those properties as well. And so for us, that makes a ton of sense. My partners are rock stars. Like, one of them has 14 years of property management experience, way more than me. And they're the ones running it. So it's a great setup. And so for me, I am raising money for those deals. And the more, we have more co-living deals probably coming on the way as we continue to get them up and running. We'll have more properties and opportunities available. But in the meantime, for actual private money lending in the first position, I only am connecting people on ones I've done myself.
Yeah, I love that because I'm very conservative in that way as well. So I had the idea to launch a fund for maybe 2 years, and I wanted to do it in the traditional way, not using fractional. You know that fractional now is like kind of like the trend to launch a fund, right? But I wanted to do it for co-living, and I didn't want to do it until I buy my first co-living. I stabilize the property by myself. I'm going through the whole process, and when I did it, and that makes me feel confident now to launch the fund and start raising capital because I already went through the experience, right? And well, now that fractional is a thing, I'm doing it with fractional, right? But the point is that anytime, because I have done many things, STR, MTR, long-term rental, multifamily, all type of asset class. But when I wanted to do the co-living, I wanted to feel comfortable doing it by myself first before using other people's money, right?
Absolutely. And I think people like all the time, it'll be like, this is my first flip and we're going to get a private money lender and we're going to, and it's 100% funded and your ARV is completely wrong. And it's never going to like, these things are just, I mean, that's awesome. Like everyone starts from somewhere, but my best recommendation, would be if you want to be a flipper, you find someone who else is a flipper, flip with them the first couple of times, right? If you want to do it on your own, use your own money, get your own feet wet, do your own things, right? It's the same thing with your co-living, right? You're figuring it out on your own, and then you're going to go raise the money. And so I think when someone is going in and looking at your fractional, they're going to say, okay, hey, this guy has experience with co-living. He's done this before. Now I feel comfortable lending, and it probably won't be in the first position. But at this point, it doesn't matter because you're an experienced operator and you know what you're doing and you know how to navigate the issues that are for sure going to happen, right? There's no way that all real estate deals are going to go as easily as we would like them to. So it's the same thing for like our co-living and our other properties. Like, we have the experience now, so we feel comfortable putting people in that position, because I know at worst case scenario, I can pay them out of my own money because that's what I just don't, losing your own money is one thing, but losing somebody else's money is just very crappy. And I want no part in that experience ever. I hear about those stories. I feel really bad for the people whose money is lost. I do not understand how people do things like that willingly. And sometimes it's not their fault, but still, I just can't even imagine. So for me, it's making sure that me and the people that I'm helping get into this space are as protected as possible.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So considering that you have done or you're still doing wholesaling, you are an operator, you are in the other side as well, you are a private money lender. Um, you're seeing deals from the wholesaling side and the lending side. What gaps do you see in the market where more capital is needed but not being deployed effectively?
Yeah, I mean, I think more capital is always needed. I think there's no shortage of deals out there. I mean, there's good deals and bad deals, of course, but there's so many opportunities. I get presented things all the time where I'm like, man, I mean, we're in the middle of all these loans right now. If I wasn't in the middle of these loans, I would really look more seriously at this opportunity. So I think, I think there's a huge gap right now from the co-living space. I think that once people are established operators, this whole model, like every single person I talk to about co-living, and I'm like, okay, rent by the room. Think about when you were in college, you had roommates, right? Similar concept. And I have to kind of like walk them through it. So most people understand what a long-term rental is. They understand what an Airbnb is. They understand all those things, but they don't understand what co-living is. So I think that probably is the biggest gap, because lenders don't fully understand what that even means yet. And I always say co-living, or also rent by the room, getting roommates. Like I try to always clarify when I'm talking about it, because even if your potential lender doesn't even understand what strategy you're talking about, of course they're going to say no, right? And so I think that's probably the biggest gap, just because it's not new. This has been around for forever. I had roommates in college. It's literally nothing new. But the strategy, the approach, the PadSplit itself, if you're utilizing that, those are all newer pieces. And so I think overcoming that barrier of people not understanding what that even means is a gap.
Interesting. So if someone approach you with funds, let's say the person, watch this podcast or see you out there, and the person has a lot of money or whatever the amount is, and he wants to invest with you. So I have heard, I mean, it's very common, the term underwriting, right? We underwrite deals all the time. But recently I heard the term, I'm underwriting the people that is investing with me. So what's the thing that you look on this person if you want to accept the funds that he wants to invest with you?
Yeah, I was just having this conversation yesterday actually, and it's interesting because normally the people that have this or are lending the smallest amount of money ask the most questions and are maybe potentially the most, I don't want to call them annoying, but potentially difficult to work with if they're a lender. And that may stem from the fact that that might be the only money that you have. So somebody who has $15 million to their name and is going to write you a check for $1 million, and they know, they trust you, they've seen what you're doing, they're vetting, they're looking at the numbers too, they feel confident, they're probably not going to check in every 30 seconds to find out how the deal's going. But somebody who lends you $10,000 out of their $12,000 that they have to their name, that might not be the same scenario. They may be really every single day, how's it going? What's happening? Is there anything wrong? You're still paying me tomorrow, right? Like all the different things. And so I think it's really just understanding where this person is coming from. We definitely don't want to be in the position where, I give that example, you have $12,000 and you're loaning me 10,000 of it. That doesn't seem like a good setup, right? And so want to make sure we understand where the money is coming from, and is it money that they have plenty of flexibility on the time frame, right? Because let's say that the balloon is in 6 months, that's when we expect to get them their money back, but instead the house doesn't sell right away, or there's an unexpected permit issue, or something happens, right? And you're delayed by a couple of months. If they needed that money back at that 6-month time frame, you would be in trouble. So really understanding what the person's overall financial picture is without getting too in depth, but really just kind of getting the baseline understanding of what their expectations are, and then what their needs are and time frame that they need the money back. And then also kind of the situation that they're in. Do they want monthly payments? Are they okay with a lump sum at the end? That sort of thing. And that'll really understand how, which type of deals might be a good fit for them. Like the land deal that I mentioned I was doing, that deal doesn't pay me anything month to month. It only pays at the end. So if someone really needed to focus more on monthly income, let's say that they're going to be living off of their private money lending going forward, like they're in retirement, they want to lend out $1 million, they want to get back $10,000 every month. Well, that's not a good fit for them to get to do the land deal, because they're not going to get a monthly check. So they're going to have nothing until the deal sells. Maybe that's in 6 months. So it's not a good fit. So it's a lot about talking about what their goals are, what their financial picture is, what their needs are, like near term, and then how often they want to be deploying the money too. Because if you're in a situation where you're really just focused on getting monthly income and having it kind of turn over and not necessarily be managing it on a day-to-day basis, you may hear something awesome like a 20% return or something like that. But that money comes back to you. It's 20% annualized. It comes back in 2 months, and then it takes you 2 more months to find the next deal that you feel comfortable with. Well, then you may have actually been better doing a 12% annualized deal that is a 2-year balloon, and you don't have to think about it that entire time. So really just that full discussion and picture with people to find out more of what they're looking for.
Yeah, interesting. So flying 150 times a year while managing an investment portfolio, not only in properties but also lending on the lending side. So you have clearly systemized your business. What systems allow you to scale without being location dependent, let's say?
Yeah. So first thing is people. So I have several assistants that help. These are mostly people that help me virtually, but they're in Utah, so they don't have to necessarily be here all the time. So someone that helps with some social media, and that person is primarily focused on my podcast, and making sure that it's edited correctly, and making sure that the clips are done afterward to post on Reels and to YouTube Shorts, and it adds a little beginning on and just kind of gets things up and running, pushes it out to the, Spotify and that sort of thing. So like that's probably 10 hours a week of work that I just don't have the capacity to do, and also don't want to. So I have people like that. I also have a house manager at my personal house that helps with things like laundry, cleaning, Amazon returns, the donate pile, things like that. So first thing is people. We have a team of wholesalers. We have people that call for us, like those sorts of things. I think that's probably the number one thing that I have learned through this process is doing it by myself. I can do it. Everyone can do it by themselves. I'm not saying you can't, but it's so much of a start and stop process. Like for wholesaling itself, I was getting the deal. And then, so I was calling, getting the deal, and then stop calling. Don't have time for that anymore. Now I'm going to work through the escrow process, and I'm going to find the buyer if it's not me, or I'm going to make sure it is me and go through figuring out all the different things I need to have in place and getting things set up and getting, the furniture ordered if it's going to be short term, or getting the, leasing set up and putting it on Facebook and putting it on Zillow, like all that process. And then we close the deal. And then if I wholesaled it, then I don't have anything in my pipeline, or even if I didn't, I still don't have anything in my pipeline because I haven't made any calls while I was dealing with all this stuff. And so I have to start over again. And it's just like every time it's just really slow, right? And so we have now a system that is go high level, but it's white labeled, called Button Leads, and that helps does automatic calling and leaves a voicemail, and then sends out text messages to agents and to off-market sellers. That comes back in. We have a whole app where you can respond. The wholesale team does that, but it's way more set up and systematized. We found our rock star transaction coordinator after going through, I don't know, it felt like 20 different transaction coordinators who we know is our go-to, who really takes over the entire transaction. I hadn't found that. That's what I wanted from a transaction coordinator. Hadn't found it. I always needed to babysit the deal on the way through. Now this person babysits me almost. She's like, hey, I asked you yesterday for the answer to this. I haven't heard. And not in a mean way. That maybe sounded not as nice. She's very kind, very nice, and just so on top of it.
I feel you. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. And so we have her, and she's super supportive. And so, between Button Leads, I have my systems for lending aren't super fancy. So they're more of a Google Sheets type of a setup right now, because I'm not doing tons and tons of loans. And even I think Abraham was telling me he mostly uses Google Sheets as well. So I'm not necessarily as ready to move outside of that for lending at this point in time, but lots of backend systems for wholesaling.
Wow. So what advice will you give to someone that hasn't done any deal? And it could be, the person maybe is battling between, can I be an operator? Should I be a lender? And maybe a private money partner? So what would be your advice for that person?
So odds are you probably hear everyone that's on this podcast and people that you interact with that are doing 50 million different things, right? And that's awesome for them. And they probably got there over time. Realistically, if you're brand new to this, you haven't done a deal yet, you need to figure out what you want to do yourself for the next 90 days, and just don't do anything else besides that. So if you want to be a direct to agent on market wholesaler, then don't go door knocking, then don't call pre-foreclosures, then don't start capital raising, then just for 90 days, your first 90 days, just focus on that one thing that you want to do. And the example I gave was direct to agent on market wholesaling. So how you would do this, right? You would find people who are making on market agent calls. So if you're not in sub 2, there's a guy, Richard Grand Taylor. He's on Instagram. He makes live calls all the time. You can hear him doing it. If you're in sub 2, highly recommend Closers Cafe. You don't go to any of the other Zooms. There's plenty of other Zooms, plenty of other shiny objects. Just forget about it. Only focus on the people that are doing what you want to do, and start copying them and start doing just that thing only. Pulling your list, if you don't have a list, if you don't have a way to find anything, reach out to somebody. They'll give you a list. I'm happy to give you a list for you to start calling, and then start making those phone calls. Work through the issues, the objections you're getting, right? Okay, every single person is asking me, what do I do about the due on sale clause when it's a creative deal? I don't know what you do about the due on sale clause. So go find it, figure out an answer, or connect with a closer that knows exactly how to answer that question, and then work the deal with them. Take a small percentage. Now you've done a full deal. Now you're on to the next one. You can take a bigger percentage next time. You can do the whole thing next time. So don't be so worried about having to get the entire assignment fee or anything that you don't even get one to begin with, because you're trying to navigate the whole process on your own. But follow that one direct path for about 90 days and give that a fair college try. And I don't mean 90 days, but every other day, you're going to make one phone call. I mean, give it a real try for 90 days. And I would be very surprised if you don't have a deal.
Wow, this podcast became a mastermind. This is a class. I love it. So where can the audience connect with you, and what's next for you in 2025?
Yeah, so the audience can connect with me on Instagram at the Andrea Cannon. I also have my outdoors and adventure travel account at Andrea F. Cannon as well. So 2 Instagrams, one that has kind of everything, which is the Andrea Cannon, which includes real estate, which includes travel, which includes Diet Coke, which includes outdoors. And then the Andrea F. Cannon is primarily focused on outdoors and travel. And then also started a YouTube account as well. It's the Andrea Cannon on YouTube, which has my podcast. So I would love to have you guys check that out as well. But DMing me on Instagram, finding me on Facebook, sending me a message there. Any of those ways are great ways to get in touch with me. What's next for 2025? Personally, me and my husband just hit our 10-year wedding anniversary a month or so ago, and in a couple of weeks we are headed to Africa for 3 weeks.
Wow, that's really cool.
So we're super excited. That's personal. And then for real estate wise, I am super excited to get some more co-livings. Like I said, those are things that I am not managing myself, that my team is doing, but I am super passionate about providing affordable housing to people here in Utah and beyond. Maybe we'll pivot outside of Utah after these next ones, but right now it's all in Utah. And then from a private money lending standpoint, really just getting a great handle on new partners to lend with in the first position and grow that lending business. I'm continuing to talk about it. If you have any questions, just know if you want to lend in the first position and you talk to me, I'm not going to connect you with anybody that hasn't done it themselves. Like, they haven't actually loaned money with myself already.
Next time I'm in Utah, I might just have to try one of those hiking adventures.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you should. It's so beautiful out here. We're so lucky. All time of year too. Like any time of year you come, and it's just incredible.
Yeah. Andrea, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you just dropped a lot of nuggets here. I mean, the information was amazing. I learned a lot. I'm pretty sure that the audience also learned a lot. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.